It is great to have you with me. Well, at some point, we just gonna have to face the facts that right now, all we can do is cheer for the Lions because they are destroying the Green Bay Packers here right now. Woo, woo, woo. I know. Sad when we have to take pleasure in another team's misery or that we have to cheer for the Lions to be doing our dirty work. But hey, that's all right. That's all right. I've always been trying to sync this up with around halftime, and no matter what time I put it in for, I'm always wrong. So let me get some shout outs in the building. The absolute worst thing about watching a Packer game is that damn bass guitar chant, "Go Packer." Well, you know what? They ain't cheering right now. Let me move myself. Holy cow. I didn't realize I would be at the bottom there. Let's do this instead. Shout out T Bass in the building. What's going on? The mute works. You are correct, Davey. You are correct. Shout out my guy, Grandpa Dave in the building. What's going on, Viking Gaming? Good to see you here as well. But also when the Packers are getting their ass kicked works too. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I shouldn't be taking this much pleasure, but they've had Hall of Fame quarterbacks for 30 years. So I don't care if our team isn't doing very well. I'm taking a lot of pleasure in this right now. Shout out Dave Thibodeau in the building. What's going on, Dave? We got at least 2 days tonight. We know that. We know that. Shout out SKOL for Life Barber. What's going on, my brother? Good to see you. Good to see you here as well. Roger's in that building. What's going on, Roger? How you doing? I'm going to circle back to shout outs because I got to put my guy T Bass. My hatred for the Packers, no nor bounds. I'm really digging this game so far. You and me both, T Bass. It's funny. I got into a lot of discussions Tuesday night. And if you want to see two guys on the opposite ends of the Kirk spectrum, if you can stomach it, go check out Under the Lights on Tuesday night with me and Dave arguing about Cousins, which I had no intention of doing. That's just what happens when he and I start talking Cousins. Neither one of us get off the topic. But I said, I'm not cheering for the Vikings to lose, and I never will. And obviously, I don't care how bad our season is going. If we went 2-15, as long as those two wins were against the Packers, I would still be somewhat satisfied with it. But he's like, but I said, you know what? There's one circumstance where I would cheer for the Vikings to lose, so to speak. And it's not really that I'd be cheering them to lose. It's just more what's the greater good. Well, if we were facing the Detroit Lions in week 18 and a victory by the Lions gives them the division and knocks the Packers out of the playoffs, but a victory by the Vikings knocks the Lions out of the playoffs and sends the Packers to the playoffs. Yeah, you damn Skippy, I'm cheering for the Lions that day. If we already eliminated, there's no joy in a victory that sends the Packers to the playoffs. So hell no would I cheer for a Vikings victory if that meant it be the Packers going to playoffs. Listen, it's not cheering for a Vikings defeat, it's cheering for the Packers to not go to the playoffs. So that's all there is to it. Tony Bell is in the building. What's going on, Tony? Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. Joker Nation, I knew I'd see the Joker in the building. I had to try to actually to get the Joker laugh into my program here. So anytime something bad would happen for the Packers, I could play the Cesar Romero laughing as the Joker, but not now, not today. Shout out to Steve Sarkisian in the building. What's going on, Steve? Good to see you. Good to see you as well. I'm 57 at the comical part about the Packer anesthesia in the 70s and 80s, like it doesn't exist. You are correct. You are correct. Shout out Ryan in the building. What's going on, Ryan? Thanks kindly for joining me. Ryan, text me right after the Tuesday show. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go check out Tuesday show. That's on Under the Lights. Some found it rather entertaining. Some found it nauseating, but that's okay. It's all about entertainment. But before we get started for the topics of the evening, we have to do what we always do on Purple and Gold for Days, on Skull for Days, and that is to give shout outs to other people who are not necessarily in the building, but who deserve the shout outs. I am talking about the brave men and women who are the active and veteran members of all of the branches of our armed forces for the sacrifices so that we would have the freedoms that we enjoy each and every day in this country. The freedoms I have to sit here on YouTube and talk Vikings, NFL, and whatever else with you guys. To the brave men and women who serve as our police officers, firefighters, and EMS, who in times of tragedy are the ones running towards the danger to help the rest of us get away from it. To the doctors, nurses, frontline workers, healthcare workers, home healthcare workers, surgeons, everybody. You all at times have very thankless jobs. And in times where we cannot take care of ourselves, you are there to help us get back to health as best we can. Shout out to every man and woman who I named on that list for everything that you do. Thank you so very kindly. Thank you so very kindly. Let's get back to business here. We got NFL Jim. Packers losing 24-3. You dang Skippy. You dang Skippy. I know. I should worry about my own team. Well, let's talk about our team. The 0-3 bowl. Last week was an 0-2 bowl, and now we got an 0-3 bowl. Let's just start out with the defense. Let's get this up here right now. The cavalry ain't coming defensively. We managed to hopefully get some parts of a cavalry with the offense, with the acquisition of Cam Akers and the signing of one Dalton Reisner. But defense, it is what it is, as they say. And on some level, I am done being upset with Marcus Davenport. I'm just done being upset with him. Kind of like I'm over Andrew Booth Jr. Anything we find from Andrew Booth Jr. is found money. And anything at this point we get out of Marcus Davenport is found money as well. I'm done being mad at him. I am now switching it over to, it's not Marcus Davenport's fault that a team offered him $13.5 million. Of course he's going to say yes to that. Now, where I am going to fault Marcus Davenport and where I am still a little upset with him, it's like at some point, dude, learn how to read the room. You've played a grand total of 4 snaps in the first 3 games, and you've missed 2 games. You basically played absolutely nothing. But let's get a little something from Mr. Davenport himself.
Y'all asked me that last time. Never want to give any tips, hints, or nothing. So I ain't gonna say nothing else on that. I feel a lot better. I'm optimistic. I've been optimistic. Being able to, day to day get better. I'm pretty happy.
The question that was asked of Mr. Davenport there was, hey, how you feeling? Are you going to be able to play? And the first thing he does is chuckle. Like, why do you guys keep asking me that every single week? I don't know. Maybe because you ain't played but 4 snaps this season, bro. I mean, come on. And then he's like, I'm optimistic, but, at the end of the day, I'm feeling good about it. And I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy too. If I was you, getting $13.5 million ain't done diddly poo yet. Yeah, I'd be happy with that kind of paycheck for that amount of production, which is your number, 0. You should still be giving up that number to Pace Gang. I'm still a little irritated by that as well. But having said all that, this defense is what it is. We wanted to think that Brian Flores would be able to make a little bit of a difference. We were hoping that maybe we could move up from the 31st ranked defense. I said it would be optimistic to be around 20 to 23. Well, right now we're at about 27. And everybody was saying, if we can just get up to Brian Flores, he's going to bring these blitzes and we can be like just a middle of the road defense. We in a middle of the road defense because we don't have the personnel. And somebody tried to tell you that one coach and a handful of swaps, we swapped out Patrick Peterson for Byron Murphy Jr., a younger version. Okay, fine. What else did we do? Dean Lowry. Whoop-de ding dong. There's a reason Green Bay didn't re-sign him because Dean Lowry is a product of playing with Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith, and Kenny Clark. He's the 4th wheel, and he's done absolutely nothing for the Vikings so far. So when I say the cavalry ain't coming, just accept it, ladies and gentlemen. The cavalry's not coming. This defense is what it is. Now, against the Carolina Panthers, I think they're going to try to run the ball down our throats. I think they're going to try to do what Philly did, which is to say, you know what? We're not going to expose our young quarterback to try to win this game. I think that the Carolina Panthers are just going to try to run the ball down the field. And I'll just say it like this. Akeem Hicks or Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh, at this point, if you don't win this game this Sunday against Carolina, I don't want to hear about bringing one of those guys in. If you start off 0-4, forget about it at that point. Let me see what you guys got going on. Let's see what you guys got going on. Tony in the building. What's going on, Tony? I don't remember if I shout you or not. So if I did, I just shout you twice. But that's all right. Everybody's saying hello. Shout out to Evil in the building with the $5 super check. Hold on. The Kirk Manadiers need to be stopped. Are we the land if the free because of it? Yeah, also we are the land of the free is what you meant to say. All right, Two Evil. Sorry about that. But shout out to Two Evil for the $5 super chat. I appreciate you. Shout out to NFL's youngest GM is in the building. If the Packers win, the Vikings would have a better chance of making the playoffs because the Lions are so good. At this point, I'm not really thinking down that road. I'm certainly not willing to say that the season is over and that, shut her down or whatever. We're getting close, and we will be if we don't beat these Carolina Panthers on Sunday. But for right now, I'm not trying to think about Is it better for the Packers to win or is it better for the Vikings or for the Lions to win as far as what would be better for the Vikings? What's better for the Vikings is that they get their act together. And rule number one, my favorite team is the Vikings and whoever's playing the Packers. Because you know what? I'm not looking for the Packers to win to try to help the Vikings. No, heck no. At the end of the day, it's the Vikings and whoever's playing the Packers for me. But that's just me. Right now, playoffs. We talking about playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. And it's not another game. But shout out to NFL's youngest GM. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. G-Mac is in the building. What is going on, my brother? What's up, Greg? Come on, Justin. You know, Mikey, the most Vikings thing to happen is for the wins to start coming in lower our draft pick. Well, you know what? I'm going to get to that in a little bit is one of my other themes here tonight, G-Mac. But no, you're right. But again, at 0-3, you're not out of it yet. Technically, at 0-4, you're not either because the 1990, everybody's going to, all the positives and the duckies and bunnies are going to tell you if we lose on Sunday, well, the 94 Chargers started off 0-4 and they got to the Super Bowl. So it's possible we could still make the playoffs and go on a run. But you're right. It would be the most Vikings thing to just start winning when it doesn't really matter anymore. Tone. DC has absolutely no. Flores has absolutely nothing to work with. You are absolutely right, and everybody agrees with you. Yeah, he's got Daniil Hunter, and Ivan Pace is nice. I love Ivan Pace. I was on the Ivan Pace train the day we signed him as an undrafted free agent. Absolutely, but he's young. He's still got a lot to figure out. Cam Bynum, yeah, okay, I'll take Cam Bynum. Byron Murphy, kind of got burned a little bit last week, but at the end of the day, the corners are on an island the whole time. And I'll take Josh Metellus. But yeah, other than that, he's got nothing. You can't expect a guy to make chicken salad out of chicken bleep. A chef is only as good as ingredients. So again, that's kind of where I'm going. The cavalry ain't coming. So get ready. Yep. Can't blame Ed this year. You are right. And you know what? Again, I actually did a video after the Patriots game to say maybe Ed Donachelle isn't crazy. Maybe he realizes that with the personnel he has, this is the best he can do. And by the end of the season, yeah, we were ready to run his ass out of town. And rightfully so, because at some point you need to adjust. But now you've seen 3 defensive coordinators in the last 3 seasons. Ed Donachelle, Brian Flores, and oh, by the way, Mike Zimmer. It's personnel. It's coaching too. But to say that we were just going to move to 15th to 20th on the defensive side of the ball just by Brian Flores, wasn't going to happen there. Shout out Skolden in the building. What's going on, my brother? Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you so kindly for joining me here this evening. Can't blame Ed, Zimmer, or Spielman for this year. Yeah, no, you really can't. And Tony, as we have said, this is all about how the Wills have decided to go about their business. And it's been a successful model as far as making profits. And I don't begrudge them that. Let me be clear. I'm not saying the Wills are bad owners. I'm just saying their mentality needs to change. Their mentality has always been, we never take a step back and we just try to reload every year. We never take a step back and rebuild a little bit. And this is the result of that. But for right now, no, I don't want to hear any more about Akeem Hicks or the other tackles I mentioned. There is no guy on defense that might give you what Dalton might give you, because that's 2 mites. And it's not the Mighty Mites or Mighty Mouse, as they say. What's next on the agenda here, ladies and gentlemen? Well, this is the one thing about this program I don't like. Oh, that's right. Dalton Reisner is the fix in. Is Dalton Reisner going to start? And if he does, who's he going to start for? Let's see what Kevin O'Connell has to say.
Yeah, this week is another huge step for him. He's absorbing things very well. Get him in there with the first group a little bit throughout practice. Real calculated mindset of, reps for interior group with Garrett coming back up to his full allotment. But we're normally still giving some of those other guys, especially the backup center. It's at left or right guard. We'll see kind of a rotation in practice as a coaching staff collectively decide best 5, we can put out there, and then how our depth looks. In the event we've got to, play a new combination of guys for, which has come up a lot.
I'm going to circle back to Too Evil to Hope with the $5 super chat. My fault, brother. I'm still a little new with this here, so I got to give you this.
I give you 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
All right, I digress. Back to the issue at hand. Dalton Reisner was signed, didn't play last week, suited up, is practicing all over the line. Fine. During practice, if you need to rotate him in and out to figure out where he is going to play moving forward, that's fine. But Dalton Risner needs to be a starter this Sunday against the Carolina Panthers. No discussion. And you know what also needs to happen? Whichever position you start him in, you need to leave him there. I don't want you to start him at right guard and take Ingram into the bench. And then after a couple series, let's move Risner over to left guard and put Ezra Cleveland on the bench for a couple series. No. Make your decisions and move forward with it. As far as I'm concerned, we know about the tackles. Dalton Risner should be the right guard, Ezra Cleveland the left guard, and whoever's playing at center is playing at center, whether Garrett Bradbury is back or not. All I'm going to say is this. We've heard all offseason about how we didn't want to disrupt the offensive line continuity. Well, you finally decided to bring in a guy because you think he's better than what you got. Fine. Put him in somewhere and keep him there unless there's an injury. Yes, if you replace Ed Ingram and, gosh forbid, Ezra Cleveland gets hurt and he has to come out. Yeah, and you want to kick Dalton Risner over to the left so that Ed Ingram can play right. Fine. You do that because you have to, because you have no other choice. But right now, at the beginning, when you have a choice, you get Dalton Risner in there. Now, if you decide to keep Ed Ingram in the lineup and bench Ezra Cleveland, fine. I don't care. But I don't want it to be musical chairs because at the end of the day, this offensive line actually hasn't really been that bad. Apparently, Pro Football Focus ranked them as the 5th best offensive line last week. Either A, we're missing something, or B, there's a lot of bad offensive line play around the NFL. Now, granted, I don't watch all 16 games each week, so maybe that is the case. And yes, there has been a downfall of offensive line play over the last few years because colleges are not churning them out the way they used to because, well, college quarterbacks aren't statues anymore. Now you got more athletic quarterbacks, and that kind of hurts the development of the offensive line. I get that. But at this point, there are no more excuses. You should have signed Dalton Risner back in August like I had suggested that they do, that I had asked them to do. This is the last time I'm going to say this. But at the end of the day, get Dalton Risner in that lineup. Keep him in that lineup unless there's some sort of injuries, and let's move on with it. Because at the end of it, the offensive line is only as strong as what? Its weakest link. And so there have been some plays. And again, I know the Kirk stands don't want to hear this, but there has been some pretty good pockets for Kirk to throw. And he either checked it down or he got in his head. I'm not saying that Kirk is supposed to make every single play that he ever has a clean pocket in, but there have been more clean pockets than some want to admit. I'm not saying it's been perfect, but all I'm saying is no more excuses. Carolina is a mediocre team. Now that you've got Dalton Risner up to speed, he should start and he should be in there on any snap. Every snap he should be in there. If he decides, you know what, I'm not quite in game shape and I'm going to need to take a breather for a snap or two, okay, great, fine. But this is why you sign the guy. And by the way, I'm looking for a little more from the running game. We got on track from a yardage standpoint, but unfortunately, it was just kind of okay. We needed to get in the end zone a little bit more. This team in the red zone is just, I don't know if it's the play calling. I don't know if it's the execution. I don't know if it's the quarterback. I don't know if it's the receivers, but this red zone offense cannot afford to have any more turnovers, and it cannot afford to be selling for field goals. You had a 4th down and goal, and the ball was thrown under the sticks. Now, I don't know if that's play calling, if that's Kirk, if that's Justin Jefferson not running the right route. I don't know what it is. All I know is this team turns the ball over way the heck too much, and this red zone offense is nowhere near as efficient as it was last year. And by the way, whether you play Cam Akers or not, get my guy Ty Chandler the ball. He looked pretty good last week in his limited snaps. So again, you got the running game on track. Don't force it down our throats. Don't forget about Justin Jefferson for the first quarter. Don't only give Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison 4 total targets in the first half. But at the end of the day, I don't want to hear any more about this offensive line. We got enough problems on the defensive line. Hopefully, the fix is indeed in. Back to the comments. What you guys saying to me? You tell me anything good? Oh, let's just hit the reset. If you didn't already, hit that like button. Wipe your feet at the door. If this is your first time catching me on Purple and Gold for Days, hit that subscribe button. I very much appreciate everybody's help and everybody for being here on a Thursday night, helping me build this Vikings community. Shout out Mick in the building. What's going on, Longfellow? I appreciate you, man. I love you, Tony, Zoe, and the rest of the crew get together live. Arguments are hilarious, all in good fun. Mick, I apologize if I didn't see, were you there Tuesday? Put it in the chat, Mick. Were you there on Tuesday? Because if you were and I didn't shout you out, I apologize. Because as if you were there, you saw there got to be about a 38-minute stretch where we didn't look at the chat at all. So if you were there and I didn't shout you out, I appreciate it. And if you weren't there and you're looking for a good argument, go to the Under the Light show on Tuesday. because Dave and I argued about Kirk Cousins for a good 45 minutes. But in all seriousness, we appreciate you too. And I don't know, I speak for Tony, Zoe, and the rest of the crew, Rap, Dave, and Tyler, that we all appreciate each and every one of you when they all come out and support us there. T-Bass, spot on about Ed. I was saying all last year, he knew the best defense. Well, yeah, that's true. You know what? At some point, though, T-Bass, he needed to not go down with the ship with the strategy he was going with. He needed to, at some point, address. But yes, I did say, you know what? Ed doesn't have it, but at the same time, I don't know that anybody else would. I don't know that anybody else would. Grandpa Dave, there's a bleep ton of bad offense. Well, okay. You know what? You and Tyler kind of had that a little bit, and I know you guys read up on that a little bit more than I do, so I'll take your word for it. But all right, Dave from First and SKOL says there's this bleep ton of offensive bad play on the line, so it must be bad if we come in ranked number 5 for a week. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. NFL's youngest GM, right guard, Reisner, and then Ed and Ethers. See, I don't want them splitting snaps. I want, okay, pick your 5 best guys and then stay out there to try to maintain some level. You can't play musical chairs with your offensive line unless you have to for injury, because that hurts your continuity. I did poo-poo the, hey, we're going to have the same 5 guys, and so there's continuity there. And I would say, yeah, but if they were, average to begin with, what good does that do you? But there is something to be said that continuity is a good thing. So, yeah, pick your best 5, get them out there, and leave them out there. Joker agrees with me. Play Ty Chandler at running back. I don't know about running back 1, but he needs to be out there, and he needs to get a good 10, 15 carries, if you ask me. Shout out Angel in the building. Cheers, my brother. Cheers. I appreciate you. What's Justin drinking tonight? Coors Light, as always. There you go. Mick says it was awesome. All right, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I honestly don't know what to make of that show. Like, if people liked it or thought it was too much or whatever the case may be. Ryan says the moves I would make right now: Ingram, sit your ass down; Madison, sit down; rotate Chandler, and maybe I could listen to that. They're not going to completely sit down Madison. They gave him the contract. They said you're going to be the leader of the group. But do I think some of his touches need to be taken away and given to either Akers or Chandler? Yes, absolutely. If he fumbles one more time, whether it actually goes down as a fumble or not, yeah, then he'll get the hook. He'll absolutely get the hook at that particular point. Shout out Kofi in the building. What's going on, Kofi? I appreciate you. Thank you so much kindly for swinging by here tonight. Shout out Chad in the building as well. Cheers to you. Hey, there you go, Chad. There you go. And we got the inevitable Mick Andrews in the building. What's going on? I appreciate you. Mick Andrews, one of my first subscribers from back, almost a year ago. We're coming up on a year. It was middle of October. It was right after that Miami game heading into the bye week where I finally cut on this microphone for myself. So and Mick Andrews was one of the first ones there. But I appreciate each and every one of you. Brian is in the house. Shout out, Brian. What's going on? I appreciate you. At this point, go ahead and put your predictions into the comments here. I'm not going to read them until the end, but I've only got 1 or 2 more that I'm going to hit here because I know we're about halfway through halftime, and I'm going to try to keep this under a half an hour. T-Bass, I can't wait for Scene Booth and Austin Mountain to release their fast potential. It's going to be purple. That's why I love you, T-Bass. T-Bass, you're gonna have to hit me up on Twitter or Facebook or something whenever you get up here for a game or something. I'm definitely coming up there to have a beer or 2 or 12 with you, man. I appreciate you. Ryan's got Surly Furious. Is it a Before I Die or? Oh, Furious. Okay, cool enough. Kofi says we win on Sunday. Enough with the sadness. No, you're right. It's going to be very, very depressing if we go 0-4. And it'll be even more depressing because we know we probably ain't beating Kansas City. And who does Chicago play next week? Who does Chicago play the next 2 weeks? I got to see, because boy, oh boy, if Chicago ends up losing 2 games and we are 0-5, okay, they got Washington. Okay, they got Washington on Thursday. Okay. Yeah, and it's at Washington now. They could very easily lose that game. And they could very easily lose to Denver. I know Denver's terrible too, but boy, oh boy, if we got to go to 0-4 and then we have to have an 0-6 bowl with the Bears, oh my gosh, it's not even going to be funny. But we're going to be positive for a little bit. Brian says Kwesi got to, you know what? Kwesi's coming up here. So I'll sit that one for later. Depressing season makes for an exciting offseason. That's true, but getting to that off season, going through all the holidays with oh boy, we got to get some W's up in this. No, save me before I die before the games. Okay, Gotta go. Gotta make. Gotta get. Yeah. That's true. That's true. All right. Kofi says, write this down. We're beating Kansas City. Okay, Kofi. Hey, I will be the first one to shout you out if that's the case. I'm not holding my breath. I'll just say it like that. I am not holding my breath. All right. It's time. The Adam Thielen revenge game. First off, can we stop with this such and such revenge game? Do you know that it is literally impossible for there to be an NFL game where either a player or a coach or a front office member isn't facing a team that they were previously on? It is literally impossible. So every game in the NFL is a revenge game. So we need to stop with this Thielen revenge game stuff. You know what? I'll just let Adam Thielen speak for himself. He was asked the question, hey, what are you thinking about this game? Is it going to be emotional? Do you have revenge on your mind? Do you have any hard feelings? That sort of thing. We'll just hear it from the horse's mouth.
It's really hard to explain kind of the emotions of everything. A little bit, yeah, maybe, but I'm not the type of person to hold grudges. It is what it is, right? And I'm happy where I'm at. I can't look at the past. I'm just focusing on the now. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of emotions, right? We're emotional beings. You're gonna have emotions. But really just I'm trying to be just the same person every single day.
All right, so here's the deal. Adam Thielen, Minnesota boy. Have you heard that Adam Thielen's from Minnesota and that he tried out with the Vikings and he got a spot? You guys have heard that story, right? Okay. In all seriousness, Adam Thielen will go down in Minnesota folklore as one of the Minnesota born and bred athletes who made it in a professional sport. He will go down with the names Joe Mauer, Kevin McHale, Lindsey Wayland. And Adam Thielen will be number 4 on that Mount Rushmore. But it's not like the Vikings did him dirty. I know they signed him to a deal and then they cut him before the deal expired. And you know what? They offered him a pay cut. He said no. Ain't no reason for there to be any hard feelings. I will say this. His first game, rather pedestrian with only 2 catches for like 20-some yards. Last 2 games, 18 catches, 199 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Scored a touchdown in each of the last 2 games, including like 145 and a touch last week. You better do better than what you did against Keenan Allen. Whether you're playing Andy Dalton or whether you're playing the rookie quarterback, there is no reason for this defense to give up any more than 21 points. Now, Adam Thielen is going to want to do his best to get in the end zone, and if he does, that's fine, particularly if the Vikings are already up by 2 touchdowns. No big deal. You know what? I'm not really pulling for Adam Thielen to have a good game against us, and I'm not rooting against him. All I'm going to say is, Adam, you made your choices, and you're happy with them. That's great. But this is not about revenge. This is about 2 0-3 teams both looking to get a W. It ain't about revenge. It's about just getting a W in the win column. Just to get 1 in the win column. So all I'm going to say defensively is last week, Keenan Allen tore you up. 18 catches, over 200 yards and a touch, as well as a passing touchdown. And Adam Thielen's coming on. Now, again, should the Vikings in any way regret moving on from Adam Thielen despite his last couple of weeks? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I made a prediction on the One Bar and Lebegus show yesterday that Jordan Addison would get in the end zone twice so that any person, and by the way, there is a contingent of Vikings fans out there that actually say we should have kept Adam Thielen and that we did Adam Thielen dirty. No, it was just a business decision. It happens all the time around the NFL. It just is what it is. So at the end of the day, you know what? I don't want to get embarrassed by the guy we kicked to the curb. Flores, figure out a way to make sure that Adam Thielen doesn't go Keenan Allen on the bit. That's just me. All right, let me get to some comments. And we got Gil in the building. Thanks so much. Oh, whoops. Hit that one too quick. Shout out Gil in the building. What up, man? Thanks kindly for joining me. I appreciate you. I say we lost to the Packers and beat the Chiefs. Yeah, Panthers and beat the Chiefs. Yeah, right. I haven't been to the new stadium. Hey, whenever you get up here, whenever you plan on, you let me know because I'll meet you. I'm assuming you'll be in town for at least a day or two. And if that's so, we'll meet up. We got to meet up, man. I got to have some drinks with you. Tony Kwesi should be let go and request by Brisby. Well, that might happen. That just might happen. Brian says, I'm already in draft mode. Kirk's never been in. Well, I'll say this to keep it somewhat neutral. We've gone as far as we can. And I knew that the day we lost to San Francisco, that was the furthest we were ever going to get with the guy. And the Wolves said, no. We're going to keep going. Angel says AT gets 2 touchdowns. All right. Shout out Yogi in the building. What's going on? So what's going on? Jackson Howell will be the number one on the one promotion. I'm calling it. Well, okay. Someday, some way, we'll take it. Shout out Dan in the building. What's going on, Dan? Good to see you. Thanks for popping on in. I appreciate you. G-Mac, what is the position in the NFL right now with the most talented players? Wide receiver? Yeah, I would say probably wide receiver. I would probably agree with that. But I agree. So happy the Packers are getting their faces punched in. You are correct. Yeah, and I know I didn't make it to get done by the end of halftime, so I'll wrap this up here. I will acknowledge Thielen by name always. I will forever say number the former 14. Yep, there you go. Adams making his money. He'll be all right. Yes. I'll start being loyal and waiting to keep their players a career. Yeah, exactly. All right. Last one for this evening. No, don't have any videos to go with it. When is the time to sell? That topic of conversation has already come up. The answer to the question is not now. Now, if you get a W against Carolina, it's not time to sell. You lose to Carolina, because I figure you're going to lose to the Chiefs one way or the other. If you lose to Carolina, it's time. So, if you don't want to have the garage sale, you better get that W this weekend. And I think they will. I do. I think the Vikings are going to win probably by 7 points or less. I'll get the official prediction on the pregame show on Sunday morning, so come on back for that. But having said that, when is it time to sell? Not yet. But if you don't beat Carolina, because right now, if you beat Carolina, you're probably looking at 2-5 after 7 weeks. Because you got to figure Kansas City and San Francisco are losses. And if you beat Carolina, all right, go ahead and chalk up the Bears as a win. But 2-5 after 7 games, yeah. And it's not tanking to sell off pieces like baseball teams do at the trade deadline. If you have pending free agents or players that you doubt are going to be on this team next year, it's not a tank job to sell off those pieces and get assets in return. I'm not saying that that's what I want them to do. Like, I'm not pulling for them to lose. I'm absolutely cheering for them to win, and I always will. I'm just slightly less disappointed when they lose, when they start losing a lot. But if you start out 2-5, there's no reason not to trade Harrison Smith if you can get a 5th-round pick for him. There's absolutely no reason not to trade Daniil Hunter if you can get a 2nd-round pick for that guy. Yeah, you can say, well, then what will we have? We ain't got nothing with him. And he's not coming back next year, I don't think. Daniil Hunter, he is playing for his last contract. And I seriously doubt he's giving any kind of hometown discount to us because he's had to renegotiate his deal about 5 times in the last 4 years. I'm slightly exaggerating. If you can get something for KJ Osborne, like a 5th-round pick at 2-5, yeah, you do it. And you don't hesitate. If you can get something for Ezra Cleveland, now, if Dalton Reisner works out, yeah, you kick him over to the left, put Ed Ingram back in, and see what you got for the rest of the season with Ed Ingram. See if anything can be salvaged after a couple of weeks. Who knows? But no, you don't let pending free agents walk out the door. And I don't want to hear about compensatory picks in the year 2025. I don't care about compensatory picks a year later. If I can get something in the 2024 draft, I want it, and I want it now. And by the way, yes, if you start out 2-5, as distasteful and as ungodly, unbearable it might be, you go to Kirk and you say, hey, we're not re-signing you next year. We are going in a different direction. We tried it for 6 years. It wasn't your fault. You gave us everything you had, but we got to give JJ his extension, and that's going to cost us a Brinks truck and a half. We just gave TJ Hawkinson an extension. We're going to have to give Christian Darrisaw one too. We cannot afford to keep you, so we are not going to re-sign you. Give us a list of teams that you would accept and waive your no trade clause. And if Kirk comes back to you and says, I'm not accepting a trade anywhere, then maybe you consider forcing his hand. I know Realistic Randy had this video out there. I mentioned this last week as well. Would it be somewhat distasteful to tell Kirk, fine, if you don't want to accept a trade, you have the right to exercise your no trade clause. We also have the right to bench you because we want to see what we have with Jaren Hall. Yes, the Vikings have the right to do that. And no, it's not, oh my gosh, what a terrible thing to tell your team. No, it's not. First off, the Las Vegas Raiders, what'd they do last year with Derek Carr? Oh, that's right. They didn't bring him back. They kept his butt on the bench, and they let his contract expire. They could have maybe traded him, or maybe they didn't make the move, and maybe he didn't get injured. I don't remember the exact timeline. But my point is this. My point is simply this. The idea that you don't even consider trading Kirk if you're 2-5 is preposterous. You do what is best for this team, not what's best for Kirk. I know some are going to say, Justin, there you go on your Kirk Cousins hate again. That's not Kirk Cousins hate. That's me thinking about the Minnesota Vikings. And if we're not going to bring him back, I don't want to hear about, because guess what? Oh, by the way, Kirk Cousins, the best he can fetch for you is a 5th round compensatory pick in 2025 because he's over 35. So anybody who thinks, oh, we'll get a 3rd round pick for Cousins in 25. No, we won't. Know what the rules are about compensatory picks, about the age of the player. So if Kirk Cousins does not come back next year and sign somewhere else, the Vikings at best will get a 5th round pick. No, if I can get a 2nd or a 3rd for Kirk in 2024, yeah, I'm doing that. And, oh, well, what about Justin Jefferson? Is he going to be happy if you get rid of Kirk and he's losing the rest of the year? You go to JJ and you say, hey, we're not signing him back because we can't afford him. You're going to have to play with a younger quarterback. And guess what? If we did re-sign Kirk, we would not have enough money to fix all the holes we have in our team. So you'd be doing the same thing over and over again, which is to be a middle-of-the-road team at 7 to 9 wins. So you got to sell it to Justin. Yes, you do. But it's not that tough of a sell. Hey, if we bring back Kirk, the best we're ever going to be is a 7 to 10 win team that maybe wins a division and maybe loses in the wild card round. You want to be stuck with that for 2 more years? So all I'm saying is that decisions are going to have to be made. Hopefully not starting next week. But if you lose to Carolina, yeah, I start making business decisions at that point. I'm not saying trade off everybody. Absolutely under no circumstances do you trade Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, the tackles, Ivan Pace, Josh Metellus, Cam Bynum, and Byron Murphy too, I suppose. But those are the guys. Everybody else is on the table. Everybody else is open for business. Sorry, just is what it is. I'm not there yet, though. So when is the time to sell? Not now. Get back to me after Sunday. And if we win on Sunday, get back to me in 2 weeks after that, after we play Chicago, because I'm already chalking up Kansas City a loss. But yeah, you all know that it's time. And yeah, if they win on Sunday and we're all going to be cheering for them to win, we all are. Well, at least I'd like to think we all are. Most of us are. I will be. Will I be like pissed off if they lose? No. I mean, I might be real irritated for a minute if they like have the game and then just fumble it away again and kick themselves in the foot and shoot themselves in the foot. Yeah, I'd be pissed off about that. But as far as the outlook on this season, is there a case to be made that at 2-5, you're coming up to the easy part of your schedule where you've got, who do we got? We got the Green Bay Packers, who are getting absolutely destroyed right now. You've got Atlanta. Let me start that again. Yes. Is there a path to the playoffs at 2-5, meaning that you're facing Green Bay, New Orleans, Atlanta, Chicago, and Denver? And if you win 4 out of those 5 games, okay, then you're 6-6 at the bye week. And then you got 2 games against the Raiders and the Bengals. You probably split at 7-7. And then you got 3 games, 2 against Detroit and 1 against Green Bay. Yeah, there's a path there. But if you start out 2-5, are we really in a position to say, oh, we can win 4 out of 5, or we can win all 5 of those games before our bye week? We're not really in a position to talk trash like that. In fact, the notion of we'd be coming up on the easier part of our schedule. You know what other teams are saying right now? We got the Vikings in a couple of weeks. We're hitting the easy part of our schedule. So all I'm saying is this. For right now, it's not time to sell. But we're getting close. But for right now, let's just get this W against Adam Thielen and the Carolina Panthers, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just get that W. All right, I'm going to wrap this up here, but I got some chats. I want to see what you guys said to me before I get up out of here real quick. Greg says we need draft picks. Absolutely, we do. We will be tanking and fielding calls at 3:30. Brian's in it. Brian, hey, I can't be mad at you for having that thought, Brian. I ain't mad at you for it. I ain't mad at you. You know, I do that series. In fact, JJ was getting on me. Justin, when are you going to do another curmudgeon and punk? Well, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. I haven't had time to do it. But, you know, the optimistic side of me says, yeah, if we win on Sunday and we keep it close against Kansas City or San Francisco, that, yeah, we could maybe get to 7-7 before those last 3 games against the Detroit Lions. The curmudgeon in me is just like, why are we wasting our time? Because at the end of the day, you're going to win just enough games to just miss the playoffs. And instead of be drafting in the top 10, you're going to be drafting in the late teens again. I can see both sides to it. But yeah, I agree with you. I'm not ready to say it's there yet, and I think we do beat Carolina. But you're right. If they lose, it's time. It's absolutely time. G-Max says we need draft picks. I totally agree. Yeah, T-Best, thanks for subbing over to Purple Rain 247 with Yogi and SKOL TYA over there. You might get a one for Hunter. You might be right, Ryan. You might be right. Now, mind you, Hunter has a no trade clause too. So number one, you got to find a team that he's willing to say, yes, I'll waive my no trade clause to. But yes, if you can find, I mean, there's a couple teams out there you might. Bottom line is you got to get at least a 2, and you should be able to get at least a 2. But yeah, Hunter would have a shot at a championship. No, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Agree with you on the fire sale. For too long, we've hung on to these players and got squat. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're in like the 2 or 3 spot right now. You need to have a good old fashioned Bud Grant garage sale. That's T-Bass. That's a good one. I should have said that. I should have said you go Bud Grant on it. I got it. I should have thought about that. Benches, stay eliminate. Yeah, no, I would. Stat love it. Okay, I got you. What if the best thing for this team is trading JJ? Well, it's not. So I'm not going to entertain that ridiculous notion, Yogi. I love you, but no, that's not the best thing. The best thing is to get rid of older players with bloated contracts and stop signing players to void years and clearing up your salary cap. And then you have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson and 2 top 5, if not top 10 at the worst tackles. That's the best thing for this team. What you do is you throw all of your draft picks into the defense on the defensive line and in the secondary, and you use your free agent money to shore up your offensive line. And then you have the offensive pieces for a young quarterback, and then you fix the defense over the next year or two. But at the end of the day, that's another talker for another day. I had enough of that conversation when it was talking about should we re-sign Kirk Cousins for one more year on Tuesday. I know that was during your show. I don't know if you had a chance to see it or not, but I can't do that. This team isn't a Super Bowl contender. I apologize, but anybody who thinks it was nuts. No, this team is not a Super Bowl contender. Hell no. Absolutely not, T-Bass. And anybody who says, that's the thing. Some fans say, I'd rather keep playing and get wins and try to sneak into the playoffs. And I say, why? So we can lose in the wild card round? And if we barely squeak by, get destroyed in the division round? No. That is short-term thinking. I'm a long-term thinker. Why? Because I've seen this song and dance enough. 2020, I've mentioned it. We started off 1-5 and went to the bye week at 1-5. And it was 2 weeks before the trade deadline. And after the bye, you came out and you beat Green Bay, and that was awesome. And I said, okay, great. We got our victory against Green Bay. Now go trade your players. You could have traded off Riley Reif and got a 4th-round pick. You could have traded Kyle Rudolph, got a 5th-round pick. Could have maybe traded Thielen, Kendricks, and even Harrison Smith. And at that point in 2020, you would have got 2nd or 3rd-round picks and maybe even a 1st, and you would have been rebuilding. And you'd be further along. You know where you would have been in 2020? Where we are right now, which means we'd be further along. And you're right. Or the people who are going to come back at me, well, we wouldn't have had our 13-4 last year. What'd that do us? 1st-round exit. If that's enough for you, okay. But that's not enough for me. I'm interested in winning a championship, one before I die. And sometimes you just got to bite the bullet. I'm not there yet. Like I said, when I'm not in sell mode yet, pending the results of this weekend's game, I would trade JJ 100 times out of 100 before paying him or any other receiver quarterback money. That is, Brian, where I disagree with you, because JJ is the best wide receiver. JJ is Patrick Mahomes. And he's probably, if I would probably put JJ number 3 in the NFL. Well, actually, no, number 2 right now, behind only Patrick Mahomes. There was a time where I would have said I would take Mahomes and I would take Joe Burrow. And those are the only 2 guys I would trade JJ for. I would not trade JJ for Jalen Hurts. I would not trade him for Josh Allen. I wouldn't trade him for any possible quarterback that's coming out of the draft. No, I want JJ on the team to pair with Jordan Addison for that rookie contract. Imagine the Vikings did completely suck this year, and they got Caleb Williams or they got Drake May. Yeah, I want one of those guys, and I want one of them throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson. But different discussion for a different day. Packers getting straight. What's the score? Oh, it's 21-11. Oh, the Packers just scored. Oh, okay. So, yeah, now you within 2 touchdowns. That's great. I don't buy JJ insisting on Kirk being here. Neither do I. I don't buy that for a second. Thanks for the content, and I appreciate you. Hey, you know what? I feel more comfortable doing lives. That I've done less short form videos because I feel more comfortable having you guys here with me. I love doing shows, with other content creators, whether it's on Vikings First and SKOL or with Dave or with Rap or with Gigi and the boys or Yogi and company and Tony and that what. But, I'm doing less and less short forms because you guys show up for me. And I'm very, very humbled by that. Because if I make a mistake, I don't go, oh crap, and then start over and do the whole thing all over again. So I'm going to be doing this for a while. Whiffing on for third round picks. Well, yes. 4 third-round picks in 2021, and oh, by the way, almost pert near the entire draft of 2022. I just don't want to get blown out Broncos out. No, I don't. Go down fighting and entertain me. I agree with you, Gil. I agree with you wholeheartedly there. I'm not saying I want them to get mollywopped. I still want them to especially. Yeah, I mean, again, do I want them to go 2-15? No, but if we did go 2-15, them two better be against the Packers. I'm not saying that's what I want. Now, long term, is that the worst thing? No, it's not the worst thing. It's the worst thing short term. Long term? No, it's not the worst thing. Don't be afraid of having a bad year. We're not going to turn into a team that's perpetually bad for 5 years. The Vikings never do. The Vikings have always found a way not to. So don't be afraid of it. I'm not saying it's going to be fun. And like I said, I think we win in this Sunday. I think we win in against Carolina. I honestly do. We ain't beating the Lions, something I thought I'd never say. Well, yeah, it ain't looking good. So much as I hate to say it, they are looking pretty good. They should be undefeated right now. They should not have lost that game in Seattle. Honestly, it depends on how that too. That's a very good point, Ryan. It also depends on how they look in those games. I'm that person that wants this team to sneak in the playoffs and lose in the first round, though I will still cheer for this team. You do or you don't, Joker? You want them to get to the playoffs just to get bounced? Because that sets them back. See, here's the thing. Sometimes progress in getting to the playoffs, that means you're picking at least 21. Sometimes it's okay to miss because then you have higher picks. Now, you got to hit on them. You can't be blowing picks left and right like we have for the last 5 years outside of a handful, Jefferson, Darisaw, Addison, that sort of thing. But anyway, we'll have plenty of time to talk about it after this week's game. JJ has ball in his hand 6-12 times. Mahomes is 50. Again, yeah, okay, if I could get Mahomes, yes. But what I'm saying is I don't see us getting Mahomes. So being that I don't have Mahomes, again, look at Joe Burrow. He's a great quarterback. I would love to have Joe Burrow. But let's not pretend that Joe Burrow hasn't had weapons around him. Now, I'm just saying. But at the end of the day, it's a discussion we'll have plenty of time to have. I want a quarterback to be the hero. Kirk has said he doesn't want to be the one to screw up. Well, there's that. There's absolutely that. Man up, Justin. I don't want to be holding your hand all the time. What you talking about, man up? You don't want me holding. If losing to the Packers this year means a high draft. Oh, yeah. I get what you're saying. I'm just being if it was 2-15, I would prefer those two to be the Packers. That's all I care about. That's all I'm saying. At this point, all right, let's see what Joker's here. We're going to beat the Packers. And so, all right, SKOL for Life Barber and Kofi are on record on this chat, on this show. And y'all better come back to me the Monday after those games, particularly KC. Kofi and SKOL for Life Barber are on record saying we are going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know if they're buying into the Taylor Mania is going to make a distraction for the team or what. But I don't know what it is we've seen. And people can say, well, Kansas City hasn't, outside of the Bears game, hasn't looked good. Well, neither have we. But hey, I would love it. I would love it. I would prefer that if we're going to beat Kansas City, that we would have beaten the Panthers first, because it would be such a Vikings thing would be to lose to the Panthers and then beat Kansas City. But it would also be another Vikings thing for us to beat the Panthers, beat Kansas City, and then lose to Chicago. Having said all that, once again, I said I was only going to go for 25 minutes, and here I am wrapping it up at 50. Shout out nephew in the building. What's going on, JJ? You're going to have to hit the rewind button because I'm finna get up out of here. Because like I said, I've been trying to keep these to 20 to 30 minutes, but I just love interacting with you guys so much, reading your comments and having the back and forth dialogue that I just can't help myself. Shout out Bandito in the building. Don't make enemies with Swifties. Oh, you know what? We already got our own group of Swifties, and that's the Kirk stands. That's one I said last year. Kirk stands are like Swifties. If you say anything non-positive about Kirk, then you by definition are a Kirk Cousins hater. No. Me saying he's good, not great, is not hating on him. But to Kyrgyzstan's saying he's good, not great, means you're a hater. Just like to the Swifties. If you say that Taylor is not the greatest thing of all time, then you're a Taylor Swift hater. It's like, I don't care about Taylor Swift one way or the other. Doesn't make me a hater. There are plenty of legitimate Taylor haters that hate on her for no reason. Say she sucks. She does not suck. Get out of here with that. Just like Kirk don't suck. Get out of here with that. But in all seriousness, you're right. I better not make any enemies out of the Swifties because the Kyrgyzstans already are on the mollywop here. But have a good night, everybody. I appreciate each and every person for coming on here. Come on back around 11 o'clock Central Time on Sunday morning for the Purple and Gold pregame show. One more time, thank you kindly so much for joining me. And as always, SKOL to the next episode. Good night and SKOL Lions.